working in the same sheet of music. There was a lady from the Midwest, maybe from Illinois, I don't know, and she's driving at night through a small town in Arkansas, and she came up to the stop sign, stopped, looked both ways, went on through the intersection, and this village cop pulled her over and said, "You went through a stop sign, you didn't stop." She said, "Yes, I did." He said, "No, you didn't." He said, "Tell you what, you give me $50, $50 cash, I'll just give you a warning and go on your way." She said, "I ain't giving you $50. He said, "Well, no, I have to give you a ticket, you got to stay in jail and see the judge in the morning, traffic court." She said, "I'll just see your judge." So there she is, next morning in jail. And as the jailer coming around with the jailhouse breakfast, which consisted of a bowl of cornflakes and a cup of black coffee, she went up to the bars and motioned him over as close as she could. And very discreetly, she whispered to the jailer, "Could I have a tampon?" The jailer looked her right in the eye and said, "No, lady, you're going to eat cornflakes just like everybody else." Now, I apologize for that.
No, you don't.
But this is sometimes, more often than not, how we kind of felt when dealing with 10th Corps headquarters. Not on the same sheet of music. Well, anyway, the 10th Corps headquarters said, "We want to try to preserve these buildings because the United States might have to rebuild them." My boss, Colonel Chesty Puller, said, "If a Marine's life is in danger, it's more important than a building, and if we call in an airstrike and that building happens to catch on fire, it's okay." Sewell was burning. From Incheon to Sewell, we captured 4,797 prisoners of war. We inflicted 13,700 casualties on the North Korean Army. 1st Marine Division suffered 2,447 total casualties. We turned Sewell over to the United States Army, and then we prepared to make another landing. This time just around the Yellow Sea, around the southern tip to Wonsan, north of the 38th parallel. From Wonsan, we took trucks up north to the Chosin Reservoir. Now, the 1st Marine Division took up 3 positions: Udamne, Hagaroo, and Coterie. We're spread out too thin, 25 miles. Real quick here. Now, I know you can't see these numbers from where you are. All right. We took the Yellow Sea around past Busan. We're well into North Korean territory now. Landed at Wonsan, trucks on up to the Chosin Reservoir. There's the Yellow River and that bridge again, okay? Now, I know you can't see that from where you are. Udamne, Hagaroo, Coterie. I enlarged that one portion of the Chosin Reservoir. Udamne, Hagaroo, Coterie. It's 14 miles from Udamne to Hagaroo. It's 11 more miles to Coterie, and 78 miles down to Hungdam to get out of there. There's Tok Tong Pass. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, we had driven the North Korean Army across the Yellow River into Manchuria. It was rumored they would be going home soon. Now, we were up there 6 weeks before the Chinese come into this picture. And that was fine with me because temperature just started getting cold, even in October. It started down 0, 5 below, 10 below. Daytime temperatures 25 below 0 and 40 below at night. Now, you're sleeping in a foxhole in a sleeping bag. You don't get no better than that. It's like the Waldorf when you get down there out of the wind. Now, we were spread out so thin that, and we were up there, like I say, for 6 weeks. So in case of casualties, in case we had run into a lot more trouble, we built a small airstrip at Hagaroo. That's right there, Hagaroo. There's some flat ground there. Now, you see these funny looking numbers up there, 1520, 1294. In civilian life, if you got a mountain, you give it a name, Mount Everest, Mount Suribachi, or whatever. In the military, we give it a number, 1520. Well, that's 1,520 feet above sea level. It put it in a better perspective, perhaps over 5 football fields high. So that's another reason why things are so cold up there. So you see them in those numbers, as we start moving out of there, those numbers will become important to you. So because we were spread out so thin, we built that airstrip in case of casualties. And 10th Corps headquarters, there's that name again, General MacArthur and General Almond said, why are you doing that? I said, well, in case of casualties. I said, what casualties? You're going to be home at Christmas. We reminded them we had been capturing Chinese prisoners. They said, not to worry. They are just advisors. There's only one bridge going across that Yellow River, and they can't get any sizable force across that river without us knowing it. Well, duh. One of the biggest screw-ups in the history of military intelligence. At 40 below zero, you don't need a bridge. 400,000 Chinese troops crossed that Yellow River. They even drove trucks and jeeps across, but the ice is probably 12 feet thick. All of that's in my little book here, Once Upon a Lifetime, and everything that follows here now is in that little book. On 27 November 1950, right after dark, all hell broke loose. All 3 Marine positions were hit at once. Mortar shells were landing in our positions. Machine gun fire was coming from all directions, and behind this came the main body, wave after wave of Chinese troops. There were times you couldn't kill them fast enough. At Coterie, we were well dug in, and we covered our fields of fire to perfection. And although our casualties were fairly light, the Chinese left over 200 dead directly in front of us and 400 more wounded in just a 2-hour firefight. 2 hours, 600 casualties we inflicted on the Chinese. To the north, things were much worse. Marines at Hagaru and Udamni fought the entire night in their own command post. When daylight came, our 5th and 7th regiments had over 100 dead and 500 wounded. The Marines continued to fight as platoons were reduced down to squads. Tents that we used for sick bay was not nearly large enough to hold the wounded. The less critical was heaped outside in piles for warmth and covered with canvas, straw, or any available material that could be found. Doctors and surgeons worked in a frenzy over these 500 wounded Marines. It was nearly an impossible task, but the doctors and corpsmen never quit trying. The syringes of morphine were frozen, and they couldn't be used unless the doctors held them in their mouth first to thaw them out before they injected the morphine. Blood plasma was frozen. If clothing was removed from a wounded man, he'd freeze. And surgeons were hindered by having to wear gloves. If they removed the gloves, their hands would freeze. Just like when it looked like the end was near, squads and fire teams would launch counterattacks and drive the communists back. No matter how many times they attacked, the Marines would come up with one better. The Marines held. It was now evident that we were cut off and surrounded by a numberless enemy. And there's only one road out. Ammunition's in very short supply, and any future supplies will be in the form of airdrops. Back in the United States, the headlines read, 1st Marine Division trapped, no way out. And we were now ordered to withdraw from the chosen reservoir to the seaport of Hainan. Keep in mind, this is a distance of 78 miles all the way, and we got to stick to the road because of our dead and wounded. Now, real quick, down that road, 78 miles to get to Hainan. And we got to stick to the road because of our dead and wounded. Now, the same folks from headquarters said this situation is, the same people that said they can't get any sizable force across the Yellow River now said the situation is hopeless. Everybody just take off on foot. I'm sure a lot of you get through. Well, my boss, General O.P. Smith, Commanding General of the 1st Marine Division, said, I don't accept that at all. We're going to break out. We're going to fight our way down the road. We're going to blow hell out of anything that gets in our way. There will be no salvageable equipment left behind. We're bringing our dead, our wounded, and our equipment. we're coming out like Marines or we're not coming out at all. Only the dead and wounded would be allowed to ride. Those wounded from the waist up would still have to walk. Now, you notice these Army divisions. When they said take, the United States Army was on our flanks, both sides, and other UN troops. When they said take off on foot, that left our flanks exposed and left the 1st Marine Division hung out to dry. Now you still see some Army divisions there. There's about 10 of them. Only they're Chinese divisions. This is where we are. We're here from USMC to Coterie, and we're surrounded by 120 to 150,000 Chinese. Take off on foot. Now, first on the agenda is to break the men out from 5th and 7th regiments from USMC down to Hagaru. But first we had to blast the Chinese off of both sides of the hill to get out of there. In doing so, it would take 4 days and 4 nights, and we'd meet the largest number of Chinese to date. Final casualties coming out of there, as you would. Tok Tong Pass. Now, Tok Tong Pass is a story within itself. We had to hold that high ground there, that 1520 you see, that's Tok Tong Pass. So we had to occupy that so the column could move safely on through. Now, the Chinese had the same idea. So we sent Fox Company, 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines, to hold this pass. Now, the Marine Rifle Company consists of a little over 200 men. The first night, Fox Company suffered 50% casualties, 100 dead and wounded the first night. Fox Company Commander, Captain Bill Barber, radioed for an airdrop. We need ammunition, we need medical supplies, and we need them now. Headquarters, there's that name again. They explained it was snowing. Bad visibility, it might be too dangerous. If things are that bad, just get off the hill. Captain Barber radioed back, I've got 100 dead and wounded Marines up here. I can't leave them. I won't leave them. I need a damn airdrop, and I need it now. Little pause. Radio came back. Says, you'll get your airdrop, and they did. When the U.S. Army and UN troops took off on foot, they left many trucks and jeeps with full tanks of gas and keys in the ignition. We put them to good use. 4 days later, this contingent from USMC arrived at Hagaru. It suffered 4,166 casualties. Now you remember that small airstrip at Hagaru? They didn't much to build. What casualties they said? Cargo planes brought in food, ammunition, and 500 replacements, and then flew out 4,000 wounded. What casualties? Now this really lightened our load and provided much needed space and trucks for future wounded. Now we had the simple task of eliminating the last 11 mile from Hagaru down to Coterie. Once again, they were under constant attack, but after 2 more days, the column moved into Coterie perimeter, and with a total cost of 4,782 casualties. Now, you've probably heard of a boot called a thermal boot. Everybody's heard about it nowadays. Well, the thermal boot, I don't care how cold it is, if you put on a nice pair of wool socks and jam your feet down in that thermal boot, you're going to keep your feet warm. I don't care how cold it is. There was one problem with them, however. You know what that was? They didn't give them to us. They were so damn sure that we were going to be out of there before Christmas, before the cold weather set in. These thermal boots were in a warehouse in Japan. A lot of kids lost their toes. Some of them even lost their feet. Thermal boots. Final phase, after giving the rest of the division a head start, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines would be the rear guard for the rest of the division. To keep the column on the road safe from enemy fire, we had to take to the hills once again, and we called what we call a leapfrogging. We had to keep it free of the enemy. As the column and the wounded and the trucks moved down the road, the Chinese would get on these hills, shoot down at us. So we just sent a platoon up, kick them off, they'd go to the next hill. It's slow, but we leapfrogged and got out of there. And even though we did this almost flawlessly, we still had another 347 casualties. During this 2-week period, communists